So the Captain Marvel trailer just dropped. I'm super excited about it. This video may be overkill, but let's get to it. This is not done yet. I need something else for this. I got an idea. All right, let's see what I got for supplies. Cutting mat, X-Acto knife, box cutter, extra blades for the X-Acto knife, foam, base foam, contact cement, and believe it or not, I did not have any rulers. So I bought some cheap rulers, and last but not least, the shadow box. Let's get started. All right, so I decided to do a display of her costume in a shadow box so that the star can rest on, so make it look like it's her costume folded in the shadow box. So I started off by tracing out the back of the shadow box so I can get the sizing right. And then I started off by getting my measurements correct so that I have the star placement right in the middle of the template that I was getting ready to cut out. After I got the star all traced out, I took a box cutter and started cutting out the foam. So next I just drew out all the detail lines that I was going to cut into. Alright, so I have drawn a bunch of line patterns that I am going to cut into and then apply the heat gun to kind of get those seam lines that is in the photo here. I know it may seem kind of confusing, but once I cut into this and then apply some heat to it, this will all make sense. So using the X-Acto knife, I just scored the foam, so this way when I apply the heat gun, it'll open up and I will get those details to come out. And it worked out pretty good. So that opened up pretty nicely. You can't really tell because of all the lines that I have drawn here, but where I actually did the scoring at with the X-Acto knife, it opened up for the detail. So next I'll be cutting out this thinner foam and applying the pieces that go around it just to add some depth to this. So I started out by tracing out some of the detail lines that I needed for the main part of the display. I thought by adding layers to it, it'll give it more depth instead of just cutting the detail lines and then using the heat gun. And I found that using a ruler gives me a nice straight edge. It really helped with getting some nice clean cuts. And the contact cement really helped with gluing and keeping the parts glued together. So I'm just adding all the detail parts to the foam and applying some heat to some of the detail areas. And here is what I have before I move on to the next stage, which is painting. So in doing some research, I seen that Plasti Dip was the best way to coat the foam before you apply any paint, and this worked out great. It actually gave it a texture to make it look like it was leather, so Plasti Dip really worked out well. And then I coated that with some blue metallic spray paint. So I thought applying red paint by hand painting it on would be a good idea, but it didn't turn out well, so I ended up masking everything off and using spray paint. Then I used metallic gold Model Masters paint, and that worked out well. And here is what I ended up with. Alright guys, here it is. Here is the Captain Marvel Star Force, star, logo, emblem, whatever you want to call it. I really had fun doing this build. To be honest with you, I've been working on this for quite some time. Not the actual like background display, the star per se. I've been working on for quite some time. I wanted to take things a little further than just 3D printing, so I know it may seem like a little bit of overkill for just a simple star. I could have just printed it, did the paint finish on it, and then put it up on a display. But I really want to start expanding outside of 3D printing. So kind of want to use 3D printing as the basis or the foundation, and then kind of expand outside of that. So this I thought was a good project for that. And what I mean by that is 3D modeling the star and then actually doing the finishing on it and then molding and casting it. So I should say that this is my first time using that type of resin. I've done molds and casts, but in clear resin, and that was for like a few projects. It wasn't nothing big, and not that this project is big. Experimenting with that type of resin was pretty cool. Like I said, I've used clear resin, so this was kind of a different take, and so you don't have much time to play around with it. So I had to go through the trials and errors of having air bubbles, and oftentimes what would happen is I would pour the resin into the mold and I wouldn't get the full shape of the star. So like the corners of the stars would come out jagged or they'll come out chipped, and it'll just look bad. So I had to develop a process of how to make sure that the star comes out right out of the mold. I also was using some resin that I found at a local hobby store here, and it's by no means a bad resin. It's pretty good. I happened to get my hand on some smooth on materials, and by far I was impressed with it, and I've been using that since. So I've been using their molding material and their casting material, and that's what I did for the star. So there's actually 2 iterations of this star that I did. We're going to talk about the star, then we're going to actually talk about the actual display case. Alright, so here's the first star that I modeled and printed. This was printed on the Atom Delta style printer, and I just have to say that that printer is by far one of my favorite printers that I have. I had it for some time now and been printing things on it, and it prints absolutely beautiful. And this was printed in IC3D's PLA, so printed out perfectly. I did the finish on this and mold and casted it. So that was like the first iteration that I did. And then Entertainment Weekly actually dropped some pictures recently of Captain Marvel, and I noticed that my star was a little off from the one that was actually being used in the movie. So I remodeled it and came closer to the one that was actually photoed in the pictures of Captain Marvel, and that's the one that I went with. So I actually printed this one. This is the cast. This is the actual print. I have I have so many stars, it's not even funny. Like there's a bunch sitting on the table over there. But this one was printed on the Atom again, and this was printed in IC3D's PETG. Their PETG, I can't say enough about it. I love their PETG, and this took me no time to sand and get it ready for molding, and came up with a few different examples of this. I had some, like I said, I had some issues with the corners not being right. So the trick that I found to actually getting the corners correct was I would pour in a little bit of the resin and then actually slush it around the entire mold so that it gets into all the corners, and then I would pour the rest of the resin into the mold. So that helped with making sure that the corners come out perfectly. So I had this done, and I originally had this, and you may have seen this in the background on some of my videos, because this was the original intent of this project. So I was just gonna do 2 stars, 1 silver, 1 gold, and then have I was gonna get a plaque made, like a silver plaque, to put in the middle here. So that was gonna be the extent of this project. Then I came up with a crazy idea after seeing the pictures that it would be cool to make it look like her costume was folded in a shadow box and to kind of display the starring. So that's when I came up with the idea to do it in foam. I have to say that I have not worked with foam up until this point. Being that I watched a lot of Evil Ted videos, I kind of took away some of the basics of how to get the detail lines in the foam, and how to open it up with a heat gun, and all those different techniques that these guys apply to make something like this, or even more I shouldn't say like this, more elaborate than this. I will say that I did have a lot of fun in doing it. It was refreshing. It was something different. It was something new. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I think I'm going to do more projects like this. So I added a light to the top of this, and I think it just adds a different effect to it when it's on, and it looks really cool when it's actually hanging up, because I'm actually looking for a spot to hang it up in here. Like I said, I'm running out of room, guys. So the only sore thumb for me with this project is this battery case. So I am actually going to remove the switch and probably relocate the battery somewhere inside the shadow box, and then have the switch, smaller switch, on the outside or on the back, so that I don't have this thing sticking out from the side. This was kind of really like quick and dirty when I added the lights here. It was kind of a last minute idea that I had, and I wanted to get it done in time so that I can share this project with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys had fun watching the video and had as much fun as I did in building it. Hopefully I inspire you guys to make something like this as well, and to try new things, and I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Alright guys, so that does it for this build. There's a few things I want to say before I actually outro out of here. If you don't already know, I am on Patreon, and I would just like to take this moment to thank all my Patreons. If it wasn't for you guys, I would not be able to keep this channel running, so I thank you guys so much for supporting this channel. If you're not already a Patreon, you can become one now. Just head over to the links down in the description. You can get access to files that I post up every month. This month I'll be posting a new helmet, and also be doing a video on it, so this way you guys can print it and follow along yourself, and then produce something that I make as well. So I also like to thank IC3D for sponsoring this build. Their PLA and their PETG are by far my favorite filaments that I use, so you can head over to their website and try some out yourself. So also I would like to send a big thank you to Adam for allowing me to use their printer for this build. That printer is absolutely amazing. You can head over to their website and check it out yourself. Again, this is by far one of my favorite printer. It always works, well built, and I really don't get into like the reviews of the printers, but this printer by far is one of my favorite printers. And I'm not just saying that because I have the printer. I'm saying it because it's very reliable, it's very sturdy, and I literally push the SD card in, hit print, and it just works. It does wonderful. And it has a dual extruder, and I haven't even used it yet, so that's something I'm going to experiment with. I've been blown away by the quality, not only the quality, but the print times as well. So if you're interested in one of their printers, you can find a link down in the description, and you can check their website out. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into this channel and supporting everything that I do. I really thank you guys so much. If you want to keep up to date with the things that I'm doing, you can follow me on Twitter at TheBrokenNerd83, or you can follow me on Instagram at TheBrokenNerd83. And again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, peace and love. God bless. Whoa.